up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to Do It for the Story. I'm Stacey Williams. Cease.
I'm Morgan Williams Donahue. Haven't decided if I'm going to really. I am legally Morgan Williams Donahue or Morgan Williams.
No, I was going to say you're not. That's your husband's name. I am legally Stacey Williams Cease. I am Morgan's sister. You'll get to know us more, but let's get into it. Do you? Should we fade out?
Let's fade out. I just love this opener. Let's actually give it one more second. I'm very proud of the opener. I'm closer.
So welcome in. It is
I feel like 2024 you were for a second, and I was enjoying it. But welcome,
yeah.
Welcome.
It's 2024. How was your week?
Oh my gosh!
Without making it obvious of when it is, 'cause who knows when we'll release it.
Right. I was on vacation this week, but I did a staycation.
Love that.
We were originally supposed to be in Bozeman, Montana, with some of our best friends. But my husband decided to fall down the stairs and break his foot.
It happens.
It happens. God love him. Thank God it was his foot, and it's all going to be fine in a couple of weeks. And not his head or anything.
So he's on the mend. So what did you do on your staycation?
So I actually worked on this podcast. I was like, what did I do? And I healed because, of course, I got sick right before vacation. So just not getting over that.
So it was meant to be that you weren't going to go to Bozeman anyway, because then you'd be sick there and blah, blah, blah.
Yes, and it's Bozeman. We do know that because you just said Bozeman.
Did I say Bozeman?
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking of? A place we used to work for.
Oh, I'm dead. Yeah.
Anyway, hint.
Look us up on LinkedIn.
But so you all know Morgan and I are sisters. We're going to just kind of give you some topics that are relevant to what we're going through, what you're probably going through. And we just want to have some fun, record. If this goes nowhere, we'll document our lives. So that's fun. It's a win.
We're talking anyway all the time. We live 5-minute walk away from each other. So
Annapolis, Maryland, what up?
We might as well do something we've always wanted to do. And if we're going to be talking and taking our quiet time with each other, we might as well record it and put it out there, because we've been storytellers from the beginning, and we've wanted to, I guess, be influencers. I don't know what
I mean, we just want to be. It's more of the
I'm kidding about the influencer thing, but
connect with others, use our voice, our experience, share. We kind of get voluntold, I think, a lot in life, which is which you'll hear about when we talk about today's topic a bit more. But we get voluntold to be the, representative or the token. We're used to being vulnerable.
Yes, we are used to being vulnerable.
And it's a gift.
It is a gift. And I think, our parents are used to being very vulnerable, and especially very vulnerable.
To an extent. I wouldn't say very.
Okay, I wouldn't say very, but I think they're vulnerable with us. I don't know, maybe I had a thought, and then your reaction was so strong. But I know what you're saying.
They're both pretty boomer guarded.
They're boomer guarded.
No, they share, but there's also just your typical But
think about the and what I was going to say. I understand what you're saying, in that they're not they're boomer guarded, but they are people that allow people to be vulnerable with them and
100%.
Tell stories. And our dad has stories about so many people because they open up to him, his presence.
Yeah.
And I think our mom, because she's like, let's talk, let's be chatty.
It's an environment of welcoming.
And
that is,
So we have, even though our parents couldn't always be themselves or haven't, always shared everything outside in our house, there was a safety net of this is where you can be you.
But because our dad is black and our mom is white. So we're biracial, but we identify as black women.
Right. And we can get into that too, but I think that's another episode of why you identify as a certain way. But so we grew up in a house where we were in an all white town, and there was one other mixed family, at least that I recall.
Yeah,
that,
throughout the history
kids that were, and throughout the history of the town, there was only ever very few black Black people. And, there was even, Lincoln Avenue was Little Africa. It was, we're talking
really
about
jumping.
something that was.
We're really jumping.
Well, and why not? I mean, cut it up, edit it out. But I'm just saying, like, it was historically, to give the understanding of like why we are the way we are.
Yeah.
Very small town with very few Black people.
Yeah, totally. So your week.
My week
That's what I meant.
was all about the podcast and getting better and just enjoying
Angel.
And yeah, it was.
Love that.
That was it.
I actually forgot. I got a piercing yesterday. I got another little piercing.
I'm so jealous. Where'd you go?
The top. I don't know if you can see it.
No,
The
I
very
absolutely can
top
see
little
it.
one.
It's so cute.
I actually got it at a kiosk in the mall.
Okay, because I haven't.
They had
I
a
want to
piercing
go.
studio, like a big storefront place. I just happened to walk by, and it's one of those things where I like wanted to get another one, and it's not like I planned it. I'm like, oh, I'll kind of do it when I'm there. And so Joe and I, my husband, Morgan's husband's named Joe as well. We went and got. It was a rainy day. We went and got massages, and then in the mall, greatest place. I mean, that sounds great massage place.
Oh my God.
Don't even want to give it away to those in Annapolis.
Spa. They do not
it's
sponsor.
Healing Asian Spa.
Oh, Healing Asian Spa. They do not sponsor this podcast. If you want to, we'll take it. But it's an amazing
massage. But anyway, we were there, and then so we were in the mall, and I just hate. It was like, okay, we're here. I'll walk around. But I just hate being in the mall. Like, I don't like shopping and trying on clothes anymore in person. Like, I know it's bad for the environment, but I would rather order clothes and go return them if the store is local.
Right.
But also, anyway, that's a whole other topic. A lot of the brands that fit me better, there's not a storefront. I could buy it here anyway.
Yeah.
But and
you also don't buy that much clothes.
By this piercing place, and they had a sandwich board sign out with the chart of the ear piercing map, the different helix and which I've looked at before. Mm-hmm. So I had an idea, but then I knew they were also like legit. I didn't want to just, the last one I got like in
That's
Claire's.
Why I was worried. Yeah.
But yeah, then they said, come visit us at the kiosk because no one was there. And I went to the kiosk and I said, oh, and the girl, I said, great sale. She immediately was like, oh, you want a piercing? I said, yeah, I'm thinking about getting another one up here. And then I looked at her. I go, actually, like the second one you have. She's okay. You want it like mine? And she's like, okay, she'll get you the earring that you want. It was like, okay. 5 minutes later, I had the piercing.
What's the name of the place? Because I literally need to go.
Honestly, I was thinking.
Well, where is it in the mall? Do you remember?
By the food court.
Perfect. Because everybody in Annapolis
at the
knows
food court.
That there's the food court, small, nothing crazy. That's okay. Perfect. Because I will go.
And it was Black-owned business, 2 Black women.
No shit.
And also this one for me, because like I said, all the other ear piercings, I literally think they all were done at Claire's. I only have 2 and then a upper cartilage piercing before. But this is like, the back is different. It's like a little gauge or something.
Well, and I've seen edgy. That on a friend.
Because it was a full-on needle, not a gun.
Because of the location, it looks fucking awesome.
I'm showing it if you're watching
I'm actually just going to take a photo later because I need to go get my second hole's closed up and I want to get, I always wear those fake cuffs. Clearly I like having my,
and I always keep to get it anyway. So I'm just,
and they're so much more comfortable. The fake cuffs hurt.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was my thing. I'm like totally edgy in 2024.
Dude, I'm obsessed.
Got another piercing. I'm acting like everyone's watching this, but no. And she was like, well, in that second, but high pain tolerance over here. I'm just like, it's too, literally like.
It was just in the second. Okay. Because I don't really remember. It was so long ago. Even my second hole was so
the needle more painful than the gun piercing. Cause that's just like, it's just the force of it is different. You know what I mean? It's faster.
And let's be real. I'm in pain every day. And the worst pain that I experience is from this insane shot that I take, which I will talk about later on the pod.
Yeah.
But Morgan I just like to know. I'm that kind of freak.
Maybe give people a tidbit.
I'll give them a tidbit, but I
just
will
say you have what you have.
Oh, psoriatic arthritis. Sorry. I wasn't sure what you were doing. No, but I am just that person that I like to know what's coming. I need the full description of, and then I'm good. If you're like light pain, extreme pain, I can do it. I just need to know mentally how to be set up for it.
It's totally fine.
Okay, great.
It's like
I'm excited.
Getting your ears pierced. Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do? By next Sunday, I'm going to have my piercings because I wanted to do it for forever.
I'm dead. Well,
we'll be twins.
Oh,
You
can't
honored?
wait. If you're watching this, you'll see my excitement.
We're wearing the same jeans. Are you wearing Abercrombie?
Yes, and I had them first. I say
She
that
did, of
because
course she did.
as a child, Morgan would make me tell my friends if I was borrowing her clothes or
Bought it first or whatever. Yeah, it was very, as someone who's been obsessed with clothes basically since I came out of the womb, I was pretty aggressive about it. Call me Kim K when it comes to the clothing back in the day. I've changed. I think really when we got to DC and I'd be like, Stace, go into the closet, take what you want. I had an insane walk-in closet in DC too, actually.
For people who don't know, we all lived in DC for a while together, but that we'll talk about more. We have multiple sisters. And so however we release
There's
it,
5 of us all
five
together.
of us
Yeah.
all together. Morgan's 3 years older than me. I know it seems like
We're twins.
probably more than that if you're watching this. Okay.
That is so rude.
But so we'll talk about a variety of things. And again, I'm giving this little intro because depending on where we release this, could be first, it could be third, who knows? But
Yeah, we're figuring this out, guys. You're along the way.
you're
along the journey.
For the journey. And it's a
about the
winding journey.
Not the destination, as they say.
So our goal is to try to stay consistent and talk about some things that are relevant to us that we think other people can benefit from or laugh about or laugh with us, cry with us.
Hell, make fun of us. I don't care. Get
Shed
us to
some
go
light.
viral. You can say whatever you want.
Yes, shed some light too on the shit people don't want to talk about. It's also just like we're all adults.
Let's be real.
Be real. And especially with things that you're like health related, like sharing is caring. As Brene Brown, our girl says, clear is kind. So with that, let's start today with a little vulnerability. Should we just get into our topic?
I think we should.
So as we mentioned, we are biracial, mixed chicks. Our mom is white. Our dad is black. We're biracial, Abby. And I said that earlier. We identify as black women. Grew up in a small town. In Maryland. Small rural town where
also, I'm not making fun of anyone. I grew up in a small town and I'm half white. I can do the accent. Okay.
Yeah, we're white and black, so we get to say whatever we want. I need a raise. Come for me. I dare you. I take offense to that. I don't. I'm kidding. But honestly, it's like a funny bit. We grew up in a small town. There's 5 of us all together, sisters only. And there were no other black people there. Minorities, period.
Period.
Like it was our family.
Don't say the name.
No, I'm not.
The one other name.
There was our family, one other family. And then when we were middle school, another biracial family moved back into town. Into town.
Back into town.
And it's literally, so Morgan's giving accent. If you're from Maryland, there's a lot of different accents. So you'll probably hear ours a little bit slip in and out. But
today
we thought we'd shed some light on who we are. And a huge part of who we are, you can't miss it if you're watching it, is that we are black women who are biracial. And
that light skin.
Growing up, that was just in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s in a town where nobody looks like you. And while Maryland is votes typically Democratic overall, not in that count. Well,
I mean, we had Hogan for...
I know, but...
And okay, let's just say, this is the easiest way to describe it. Purple state. And you can find, if you are in Annapolis, you're thinking, oh man, this place is diverse, right? And now Annapolis has, segregation.
And Annapolis is the capital of Maryland,
legal segregation, but, because of the history. There's pockets where people live, but we're the most diverse state on the East Coast. So if you're in Howard County, if you're in Montgomery County, we've got everything here, but there are pockets that are on the borders in the mountains, the farm countries, where it's very,
everywhere.
very, very
but
red.
It's also especially because, like you're saying, there's no diversity there. So it's for a lot of people, we were there. If you were a friend, I have a black friend. We were there, not for everybody. I'm saying for some people, and most of the people that said that weren't really our friends, or like definitely aren't now. Probably none of my like true friends ever were like, I have a black friend. I don't. And so we were the example. And other than that, it was what people saw in the news, which if you live in the United States of America and you turn on the news for what you're going to learn about Black culture and Black people, you're going to think we are all murderers, rapists, thefts.
We certainly don't speak the King's
uneducated.
English. That's not how they advertise us.
Just, yeah.
And so, you know, that's what, as kids, when all of the other people around you, and this is, you know, so small town, there's so many Black people that have had this experience, and you can relate to this right now, that when you are the only of anything, and I should say, of course, Black people directly, of course, you know, a biracial kid could directly relate, but anyone that's an other, whether it's your, you know, because you, how you identify sexually, you know, whatever the thing is, you can understand how difficult it is to grow up in an environment like that, because let's be real, as much as you hear from your parents how beautiful you are, how much they love you, how, you know, how much kindness they exude towards you and your extended family, you are still, as a kid, probably I feel like the statistic, I read this recently, it's like where kids are most interested in being approved of and liked by those around them. That's where they're getting the approval. That's where they're getting, like, as much as the mom could be saying, you're freaking awesome, you're hilarious. Mm-hmm. If the other kids around them at school aren't supporting that. And I think it's through like 14 or something like that. Then they're just not getting the confidence and the approval and the, you know, what they feel like they really need. Now, you know, don't quote me. I'm not.
Yeah. You're a kid. Yeah. When you're a kid and you go to school, it's just like everybody, you're trying to fit in, you're trying to, you know, everybody, you wear the same thing, you know, the groupings, the cliques. So when you go to school, and especially as a girl, everything from how you do your hair, how you dress, you're trying to look like everybody else. Mm-hmm. You're like, well, hell's bells.
Right.
My hair doesn't look like Sarah's.
Mm-mm. It certainly doesn't look like Kim's.
Mm-hmm. How do I get that 90s trend claw clip, crimper, toy?
God. Think about the clips
round
that
brush
caught in our hair.
In my hair.
So we were like, we wanted to use them, and then you couldn't get them out.
Yeah. And so it's just shit like that where, like, you would never have to think about it. It's just like myself. Well, until I broke my wrist, I never had to think about what it's like to get dressed if I'm not an able-bodied person.
Yeah.
Unless you like, but most people with looks don't ever go through some, like, anything to even have that.
And especially if you're in an environment where, you know, to get back to talking about our childhood, in an environment where you're all, you know, and this is the 90s, we didn't have TikTok.
You can't go see other communities.
You're only seeing what's right around you. And so
also the news.
And the news was very limited. You know, we didn't grow up with cable. You know, a lot of people that were around and in our town didn't, or, you know, you had very limited channels. So you're only seeing your local, what's happening in Baltimore and DC with Black people, and that they're all criminals. And in Hollywood, that's how we were depicted. And so it wasn't just that that's how other people saw us. That's how we saw us. At least for me personally, there was always this, like, I understood that I was a good person, but I always felt like I'm not the prettiest. I can't be, have that career. I can't be that person on TV. I can't be a model. I can't be, because I don't look like that.
Yeah, totally.
And I also felt like, because we didn't have, you know, we had our Black family, but again, family is different. Like, not having Black friends around you, and not experiencing other Black people, if you're only associating Blackness with your family, you don't get a full understanding of a culture. And that was limiting for me personally. And it made me not, you know, and I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but I feel like I didn't come into my full Blackness until in the depths of it, until I actually went to therapy and really started being like, I love myself, because I felt like I wasn't allowed to, because no one publicly, when you showed love towards a Black person, it was like, it was an athlete, it was, you know, a musician, it was a you know, like a backup dancer. And, you know, we just weren't depicted. I remember crying, starting to get teary-eyed in my fifth grade teacher's class. I forget what we were talking about, but she had asked a question, and I actually raised my hand because I did really like this teacher. I don't know if I would have answered even if it had been another teacher.
She was the best.
And she said something, and I actually, you know, she was being vulnerable with us. It was something we were supposed to actually talk about how we felt or something. And I said, you know, but I raised my hand and I said, I don't, because I don't ever see myself on like a billboard or on TV, I feel like I'm not accepted. And I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember completely, or it wasn't accepted. It was just like, I feel like there's no representation for me. So I don't like really have the full.
You feel limited to what you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that's like representation.
But I said it out loud, and I will say this, and I loved, again, my fifth grade teacher, but she didn't know what to say. She was a white woman, and she looked at me and she kind of like nodded her head, and I'm sure she said something, but I remember thinking.
Then you feel weird that you said something. I felt weird that I said
it.
Yeah.
I felt like I shouldn't have said
it. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. It's always, there's so many. I mean, it's kind of like you're saying, like where to start. I'll just start with the early. So we were lucky again that there was a group of us 5, and especially that we were girls. It wasn't a coincidence, like, because it is. And I remember even our grandmother, who grew up in the town where we did, Emmitsburg, Maryland, saying in an article that I read, like honestly recently, was that it was harder when she was growing up. It was always harder for the Black girls. Mm-hmm. And to the fact that there were 5 of us girls, especially when, you know, all the things, it's always hard being a young girl or woman, you know, you're comparing. There's nothing called mom bod, you know, where you're like celebrated to like, I just want a woman that has a round stomach, and like when you're a girl, you compare. And for me, it was like the first time I realized, it's not even like realizing I was Black, but at school having an interaction, we had to do these like star of the week like poster, you know, if you were like the one picked in your class, and it was like, what's your favorite thing? What do you want to be? Tell me about your family, something like that. Totally. And you had to put pictures on it. And so I put pictures, and the one picture, you know, was of my family. And I remember this kid said, your dad's Black? Mm-hmm. And said it like that you could tell it was, and his expression was
not
like,
good. It wasn't a good thing.
I didn't know if he was questioning, but you know, as a kid, I was like, and I just said, yeah.
What grade was this again?
First grade. And I said, yeah. So, and he was like, what? Like, how can he be Black? And I went, at the time was in a Catholic school, and, you know, like, and I was like, well, we're all brothers and sisters. Like, I'm Black, you're Black. You know, some people are, you know, some people are different colors, but we're all like, doesn't matter. Like, and just but that was the first time I remember that physical feeling of like in your stomach, in your chest, where you're like, it's like a gut punch. And you're like, also like, did anybody else see? Are people looking at me? And no one else can explain that. Like, some people might have had that feeling in their life of almost, it wasn't embarrassment though. To me, it was like a sadness. It was a disappointment.
Disappointment, sadness, fear.
Disappointment, sadness, fear. And I was sad. And at that point, it wasn't fear because I'm still like,
you were confused.
No, but I was.
Surprising.
I should preface it with, it was a little bit of fear too, where I was like, oh man, one, because this is first grade and it was the beginning of like first half of the year. This was someone that I was like, I thought of him as a friend.
That was always the worst.
And so I wasn't even thinking like he was, but I was so confused. And I did remember I asked Mom about it and she said, well, what did you say? And was like, well, that was a good response. But I was aware of it because in kindergarten was the first time I was aware of, it was, see, I'm saying, but even at the time, I still was confused by it. It was the first time, actually, only time I saw the KKK in person. We did.
Wait, it was after that?
In kindergarten. It was after that.
Oh, yeah, you were in
kindergarten.
Yeah.
We were driving to soccer practice.
So I would have been in second
grade. Yeah. First, second, third.
Third.
And my mom was driving us in our little Aerostar minivan to soccer practice at, the adjacent town, Thurmont, where we played. And my dad was actually one of the coaches of our team, of the team I was on, and our sister Kiki. She's a year older than me.
Yeah.
But he wasn't able to be there that night. Had like a conflict or something.
Yeah.
I think there was probably like a union meeting at work or something like that.
Yeah.
And we were driving to practice, and at the town square of Thurmont, there were KKK in their full outfits, the hoods, everything on each square at the town. And we were at a red light. And I remember,
but just to pause to give the, because if you haven't driven through Thurmont, when you're on the square, it wouldn't have been like driving through Emmitsburg. When you're on, because they're parked cars, you're on the square, you're right next to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
There's no space. They were like it felt like 6 inches to a foot
they were
from the car.
at so Mom said, it was beginning of the fall soccer season. So it was probably like, it was still warm out. We had the windows open, and Mom was, and these KKK guys were holding flyers, and she was like, girls, roll up your windows. And the way she said it, you're like a kid. And like, again, we lived in,
and she said something also. I felt like she said like, don't say anything.
Yeah. She said, roll your windows. Don't say anything. Cause we were asking questions. We were like, what is, cause it's early for Halloween, right? We're like, why are they, dressed like this? Like, we're like, what are they doing? And Mom's like, roll up your windows and don't say anything.
And, the other, sorry, and again,
this is our mom, our white mom driving, and all of us girls were in. So we're
we're in the back.
The oldest 4, our youngest sister Mara wasn't born yet.
Right. So we're in the back, and we have to ask Mom and Dad this, but I, thinking the moments that I've replayed that in my head, over the last, how many years, 20, 30, I don't even know how many years now. You think about like, did they I remember Mom and Dad saying we needed tinted windows. I remember them always saying we needed tinted windows. Was that a thing because they thought like the car would like, wouldn't mess up the seats or something? But I distinctly remember each van that was like our nice car. Like when we had the van that we all could get in and go together. It wasn't like, Dad would have like a more beat up car that he would drive to work or something, but like our main car, when they started like investing in cars because we were all together, we had these tinted windows. And the front in Maryland, you could never, the driver's side and the passenger, you could never tint, or the windshield. So she was up there. It looked like alone. And my dad, just this one time,
just so happened to be that he wasn't there. Or in another normal time, it would have been Dad and Kiki and I in the car together going to our team.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And he would have been driving.
Yeah, splitting, because it probably was like you guys had another game or whatever.
Or if we were all going together, she would have been in the passenger seat and he would have been driving.
Right. And so that was all. And I remember like getting to the practice and other parents like hush hush talking. But I remember also people being like, even at that time, I think before the KKK, we saw them also questioning, like, is Richard sure he wants to coach in Thurmont? And I'm like,
yeah, because they were worried. They were like, you're kind of saying I'm a standout person
and
now
it's random kids, like who's on the team. And we were sent to a private school in the town we were, Emmitsburg, a Catholic school, because it was more safe, because my parents were worried about sending us to the public school there, being the only Black kids. And it wasn't just that, we were also biracial kids, and there used to be, and again, yeah, so they were like, didn't know how we would be treated. And especially when our oldest sister, Lindsay, you know, would have had to go on her own that first year. And they were like, yeah, no.
Yeah. And Mom, when she was pushing Lindsay, this was when Lindsay was on, I didn't exist. Mom might've been pregnant. And, you know, Lindsay had her, you know, cute little, sweet little afro. You know, she probably wasn't even a year. Mom was pushing her through the Emmitsburg Park because they lived at that time in an apartment above a liquor store. And so they would always be like, she'd always be pushing her around town. And, some little kid, I don't know how old, but, you know, looked at her and said, you know, nigger lover. And, Mom was just, you know, it was like her first time, as, you know, when any other white woman's going to understand what I'm about to say that has gone through this. When you are a white woman that then has Black kids, and I'm sure it's the same for a white woman that, you know, has Latin, Hispanic kids, that first time that you have an experience like that, you're like, okay, now I'm starting to get it. Now I'm starting to get how my husband must feel.
Well, I don't think that would be now I'm starting to get it, because if you're dating.
No.
But I mean, the fear of now it's you.
No, yeah. I don't mean like that you haven't understood racism or haven't known that it existed. I mean, the first time to have that feeling in your gut, in your chest,
where it's your baby,
you're like, I'm feeling attacked now. I'm feeling very scared. And it's not to say that like they didn't empathize, feel horrible 10 minutes before that moment, but to actually, I'm like, that's a white woman that has felt the cringe that you just described. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, to have your baby called a nigger, you are in that moment having that fear of when that kid was like, your dad's Black and you're disgusting. Like, anyone that's had that moment understands exactly what we're talking about.
And then that's the thing. It's like everybody remembers their first moment, because then it just continues. And it continues.
Well, to continue, I have to tell this story, unless you had something else you were gonna. I didn't want to.
No, I was just going to say that. So that was the last time I saw the KKK in person in decorative. Yeah, decorative, wearing their hoods, wearing KKK hood, but obviously we're like, it's a small town. There's only so many people there. We're with the KKK all the time, sitting next to us at school. I had a KKK. I mean, I won't jump to high school yet. I had a KKK member show me his Klan card in high school English class, you know,
that's like real. That actually happened. So
that's the other thing I should say before. It's not about just telling like all the stories of what happened. It's when you're a biracial person, you do have such a unique perspective, and you do, you know, I joke that we make jokes either side, but you experience, for us growing up in an all white town, being the Black person. And then when you're around, and for me, it was college when I actually started having Black friends. It was then you experience, you feel, you're questioning your acceptance because you feel like you haven't had that experience yet. But then you're also having to explain that, like, you know, I had people then in college, the other side of it, like, oh, is your dad in the picture? I'm like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, my dad's in the picture. I had to experience that question throughout my life of dating, meeting people's parents.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yeah, my dad's so in the picture.
Dating interracially, like that's.
I mean, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, we might that might have to be. That's do a little series here, because I feel like that is an hour, and I'm sure it'll get peppered into this conversation. But like, there's so many stories there.
But it's like, it's that. The first moment you get called something, or, you know, or you realize, oh, I'm different. They see it,
and I'm not. They're not just am I different.
It's good.
It's bad.
It's bad. you're like, oh shit. You start to know I've got to be hidden. Hidden in a way of like,
Small.
you know, when you're in the class and they're reading Huck Finn and they're dropping the N-word left and right, you're like, oh shit,
You act like you're not
everybody
there.
looking at me. Or we're reading To Kill a Mockingbird and you're like, oh, you know, you're every time. And again, like they're reading, and I'm not saying don't read these books. Jesus, like that's the last thing we need, is to have book bannings, but you are the other. And then when you have kids in class, when the book is being read, saying, raising your hand, asking the teacher, I have a question. Why is it that it's so bad to say the word, and I'm going to say it for full effect, because this is how the question was asked. To say nigger is so bad and to call that, but why do black people call each other that? And I'm sitting there like, the teacher again was another one where she didn't know. I don't even remember what the response was.
She probably didn't even know what to say.
She didn't know what to say. And she said that there was different context. And it's a great question. She handled it pretty well of like, I'm not going to comment. I mean, for the time, she was kind of like, I'm not going to comment on it. There's a different connotation and different how it's said.
I was
and
saying,
sometimes it's referenced more in like pop culture. Yeah.
You shouldn't be saying it.
And she did say that.
Yeah.
She said it's never okay to say. I can't speak on kind of like the experience.
Yeah.
I won't say the teacher's name, but you know what I'm talking about. Middle school.
Yeah.
I had it together.
So, okay. But I have to tell this story. It's about you. And I'm telling it because when I told you this story, or was recalling the story, I didn't think I was telling you in the moment, like 6 months ago, or I don't know when the hell were we talking about it. You didn't even remember, bitches. The reason I want to bring that up is because of the depth at which we bury things when you're an other. Certainly for me as a black woman, you know, the things that you push down. And so you don't even think about them or remember them or ever talk about them or share them with your siblings. One of my earliest memories is, obviously like the KKK thing, but, earliest memories of just being very impacted by how mom and dad responded. It was mom specifically because she said the words, but like dad was standing there. And I think, anyway, but you know, when you're siblings and you're as close as we are, you know, if someone goes through it, you go through it. And it was so real and so deep.
Because it's also, exactly. But what was
said, I was sitting in the living room. So our living room kitchen thing was very open. You were in the kitchen with mom and dad and you were like working on your homework. I don't even remember how you brought it up. But you were like, you know, you must have said like something happened today. And mom was like, what's going on? And like dad was staying there too. And you were like, so-and-so, called me a nigger today, or said like, why are you, and maybe he said something like, it was definitely like, if he didn't say the N-word, it was like, he said something very derogatory and like about you being black. And, you were like getting upset and mom was like, oh, Stacey, you know, first saying, you know, I'm so sorry that happened. And, you know, dad, they're like hugging you and stuff. And then mom goes, but you know, isn't that so sad? That's so sad that he lives in a house that uses such hateful, nasty language, and has such hateful, nasty thoughts about people. And aren't we so lucky that you live in a house where there's just so much love? We would never think about, you know, making someone feel that way and wanting someone to feel that way. Yeah. And wanting someone to feel that way. And like, you know, just reframed it so that because she knew all of us were listening, like we were all there, like doing our homework, you know, I definitely had been told to spread out because we were talking.
Yeah, we would get
very distracted about each other. But you know, it was like in that moment because we were no longer playing that you were like, oh, mom's standing next to me, dad's standing next to me.
Right.
Like, I'm going to tell him.
Right.
But she knew we were all listening and she knew, you know, she needed to figure out what to say. And, I think, and not because of her whiteness, I think it was because of, that's what moms live in, to figure out how to care and nurture and comfort. And the dad's just, I can only imagine what dad was sitting there thinking in that moment. And I'm sure no dad, he would have said him, a ton of stuff and would have said like, I love you. But, he probably can only imagine his flashbacks that he was like experiencing in that moment, and the fear.
They weren't dumb. They knew. I mean, they were worried.
And
about
so
us.
That's a question that we need to ask mom too. Like, did she feel safe enough to go talk to someone at the school, or did she just feel like she just had to, did they feel like
they had to arm you with the response?
Build you with the confidence and know what to say. No different than what grandma and grandpa would always say. And
yeah, our white grandparents were like really also, our dad's side, our grandmother, William, so our black side, she lived in Emmitsburg her whole life. She passed away at 102. So like had such, at 102 in 2016. Yeah. So that just to give you a glimpse of like, this is what was been through. But our grandparents on the other side, our mom's parents, our white grandparents were huge supporters. And I should say our grandpa Williams died when our dad was very young, like 5. So he wasn't in our lives. He had passed away. But our white grandparents, like the things that, it wasn't like, again, there wasn't internet, there weren't books, things that we've read now. It's like they knew what to do and no one gave them a manual with us, like really giving us confidence and always telling us how great we were and how beautiful we were, especially our grandpa. Like we didn't know, he didn't know, our parents didn't know until we were adults, even what that impact would be. Yeah. To hear from a white man, even if it's your grandfather. And of course we did assume, okay, grandpa, because we would be like, okay, we know, like enough. We get it. We're beautiful.
Yeah, because we were like, okay. And it was grandpa. He was like, just to paint the picture, a ridiculous, over the top, hysterical, like very athletic, outgoing human being. So there'd be times where he would be like too much and we were embarrassed, Yeah. And so we were thinking sometimes this guy's just crazy. So, okay, stop telling us the same things over and over. But we weren't getting it. That he was building our confidence. Totally. He was teaching us. Totally. He would say things like, what were his lines? These are definitely like mottos and things that people
like, you're beautiful because God made you that way. You're the Williams girls, like stuff like that.
You're the Williams girls. You could do anything. You should be
honestly always confidence, and like even with work, with jobs, speak up.
Use your voice.
So, but hearing that from a white male, you just didn't. Any race, obviously, you would have benefited as a girl, because that's another topic. I can pick out the girlfriends that I'm like, nobody told you were pretty when you were a kid.
Well, and nobody told you to speak up. Nobody told you were smart.
So sad. Yeah. But anyway, that's another.
Raise your hand.
We'll put a post-it on that one. Come back to it. But it was just, so like hearing like that moment, like you're saying, when you brought that up 6 months ago or so to me, I'm like, I had forgotten, but then I was remembering. And it's like, oh, I have a great memory. For my childhood. I will say that. And so for me to not remember it, that's called trauma. Okay, everybody, that's a little, people say, oh, well, nothing happened to you. You just said something. Well, why are you, you seem to have a fun life when I was around you in high school. That's me protecting myself. That's me trying to forget it so I can show up as myself the next day in class and be confident. And trust the friends that I've made that are not going to look like me ever until I leave the town. And that was the stuff too, that then when we're there and as those events continue to happen, and then when, our driveway
they never
gets spray painted with kill all niggers when we're kids. And when I say kids, like elementary school, that's stuff we didn't talk about.
No. Because you don't talk about it because you are surviving.
You're surviving.
There's no one fighting for you. There's no one fighting for you. There's no safe place to go. Until George Floyd's murder, Black people were not allowed to talk about their experience, and were not allowed to explain why they were, living in ghettos and slums. We're not able to explain why their families' graves don't exist, and not able to explain. the list goes on and on and on, because you're not welcome. You're less than. You don't even have in certain areas and certain people around you the same rights, or, shouldn't even, exist. You are literally keeping your head down. You're staying quiet and you're trying to blend in. And the guilt, I think too, that we experienced because we are light skinned, to be able to, and now mind you, you see my, fro popping, all the things now. I'm turning 40. I started wearing my hair completely down right after college, and never wore my hair down until like at all in middle school. Like I didn't do a half up, half down. I wore my hair back in a ponytail.
Same.
And in a bun. And elementary was, pigtails. Never allowed anyone to see my hair, because I needed to fit in. I needed to blend in, and standing out. I just
didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it well enough.
Well,
if it popped like this back then, I would have had it down.
I mean, I certainly didn't know how to do it, but that was the thing though, too. Like why, but also, what is knowing how to do it?
Well,
if you didn't put product in your hair and
I didn't have the product. It was, it was Paul Mitchell, the wet look or something.
No, but even if you didn't have the product, I'm sorry. If your hair was without product right now and you let it go full frizz, it would be fire and you'd be able to walk down the street. Like it was, or, put some braids in it. We weren't allowed to wear braids in our school.
I was going to say, that was the other thing. So we go to the elementary school. We go to the school near us we go to the private school because our parents were like, okay, that's, we're going to be safer there. But then in the school handbook, and every Catholic school has rules, you can't wear nail polish or makeup and things like that. But in the school handbook, the things that you weren't with in the hairstyles that were inappropriate, having your hair in braids. Mm-hmm. So, again, if you're watching this, you see the amount of hair in my head. Imagine a little girl in sports and swimming and all of that. This shit takes time to do.
Oh my God.
It's tangled.
It was awful.
It needs to be protected. And for mom to have 4 to 5 heads of hair to do, and was a white woman, mind you, that figured it out and went to our Black grandmother and learned and was amazing. Again, without all the products we have now. Mm-hmm. Like, it would have been amazing if she could have had our hair in braids for like 2 months. And we weren't allowed. And so that was also something we were always talked to. We'd be like, oh, should we braid it? When especially when like Brandy comes on the scene.
We wanted to. I wanted to look like Brandy. I wanted to be her.
Because we weren't allowed. We were told that's not okay. That's bad. That's dirty. That's not clean. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't have my hair braided until I was Brandy. I 34.
Yeah. I've never been able to have mine because I got
35, actually. 35.
I can't fuck with my scalp.
But. Yeah, 35. When I broke my wrist. 35. Because now, obviously, I wasn't in a Catholic elementary school forever, but that was what was told. That was in my head. That was in my head. It was told in my head. I was like, I should straighten my hair for my first job interview. That shit starts. I'm in an institution telling me it's not okay to be Black. And then I'm living in a place where nobody else looks like me but my sisters, thank God. We had each other.
We had each other, yeah.
But it starts so young. And then, so the thing is, like Morgan was saying about, those stories, we didn't say anything. You wouldn't even tell certain things to I feel like I told most things to my sisters, but parents, I wouldn't sometimes too. Because then when you come to your parents that first time with that story and you see their reaction, the pain, the fear,
you feel so bad.
So you don't want to tell your parents. You're like, I got it. Like you also are like, okay, I'll just handle it. I'll tell the girls, whatever. But you have that. So you learn then silence in that way, which is heartbreaking for the parent side. If mom and dad knew that in real time, which wasn't much, we're pretty good about it, telling them. But when I'm living in a place where everyone's white, I'm not going to say to my friends, hey, that hurt my feelings. Or, because you're
uncomfortable right now.
Because you're looking for the other people in the room to say, hey, that's not okay. And that didn't happen a whole hell of a lot.
Didn't happen.
Rarely.
Rarely.
And the people that did it, we remember you.
We remember you.
know that.
Know that. You have one specific guy from high school that stood up for me and, you know, always had my back and would pull me aside. I had, oh my God, the things that...
Wait, who was that saying? I was thinking the same person.
You know who you are.
The same
I'm
person.
sending you this episode, and
I want to say, you know who you are, and this person that we both
come drive by
heads,
Dad's house anytime.
We didn't go to high school. I didn't. I actually wasn't in high school when this person was in high school with us. He
didn't
was
know
older.
High school.
He was older than
1 year older than
1 year older than Morgan, but was still around when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And same experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, this is also when you learn. Very different from us, very different upbringing, probably voted very different than us politically.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're willing to back it up and stand up and say your piece. And I'll tell you, we also see those of you who want to say, we've got your back. And you don't.
And you don't say a damn thing.
You don't.
You don't text me on the side. You don't put anything up on social media. And I'm not a fucking social media person in the sense of like, now I am, you know, for this pod, but I'm not saying you need to put your story out there, but you could say something to fucking me.
Say something, either say that's wrong, it's not okay to the person, or at a minimum, if that is so hard for you because you've never had to walk in the room being different where you're used to having to use your voice, say to the person that you're thinking, oh, if you read it and thought, damn, I wonder how Morgan or Stacey would react. Fucking say that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you gave that advice when you saw someone else doing it, and then if something else happens, again, in that same realm of bigotry, racism, othering, and it's a little closer, and maybe you're the person that is kind of involved this time, then you better say something.
Mm-hmm.
If you called it out once as the ally, then when it's you that we're like, it's not okay, own it.
Yeah.
And don't fight me on it.
You know what I can...
I say that hurt my feelings.
Right.
Don't fight me on it.
And don't question me. Don't question how I feel. Don't tell me how I feel. Don't tell me how I should feel. Also, okay, so I have a couple things. So I think people get really confused by anti-racism. And they're like, you know, one, what is it? What do I need to do about it? Why is it important? You know, if I don't use the N-word, then why am I, you know, I'm not a bad person. Here's what we mean by anti-racist. I don't need to be in the room for you to say something.
Yes.
It's like, think about when you're on the metro. So, you know,
or in a restaurant.
No. So if you see something, say something. So
that's a metro slogan.
It's a slogan. It's a metro slogan. And they say the same thing, I'm sure, on the subway.
Like in
an airport. If there's a bag there and you're worried about it and you're confused, concerned, you make sure to say something. It might be an explosive or it has a white powdery substance. It's the same fucking thing for us. If you see somebody that looks like they're being discriminated against or something weird's happening or someone says something that you are uncomfortable with or don't agree with.
Proudly flying a flag with a symbol that may be derogatory, racist, or people have said to you, hey, that really sends fear through my body because it was a sign of hatred towards me as a kid. Like the Confederate flag, I'll tell you. It's a fucking hate symbol.
It's a hate symbol.
People that want to do this whole, well, it's the South. I'll speak for my experience specifically, and I'll say to this, any resident of the state of Maryland, it's a hate symbol. When you're a black person living in a town where that flag was flown, and we still were south of the Mason Dixon line, that says, I support slavery, and I believe that you, a black person, should be a slave.
Yep.
That's what it says. If you're flying
because we all know why the Civil War happened. I'm not going to give a history lesson right now.
So if it's on,
don't go to some like blog supported Trumpian whatever. Go get a fucking book at the library, a library book that's written by a black person or someone who
or a historian
right
down the middle.
Yeah,
just stating the facts.
That's where I want you to get your information. Google is not the depth of education. And I'm in such a...
ChatGPT it too for some works cited. But the main thing is just that. I will say it again and again and again, and I will never choose. My stance will never change. The Confederate flag, as a small child, as an adolescent, as an adult grown-ass woman, it is always going to be seen by me and Black people as a racist symbol. And not just Black people. It's a neo-Nazi also symbol.
Yeah, I was going to say, let me also do this. If you are going to fly a flag that Nazis fly, that the KKK flies, I have put you in the same box.
Yep.
We are not friends.
You're in there. Go sit over there. Go sit at that table.
That's what that means. I would not, that's insane to me to think that I could put on any symbol that symbolizes that you hate another group or another group. Or even if you say it doesn't mean that to me,
or it was a symbol directly said that you don't belong
to the other
here.
Group, take it the fuck off.
Yeah, that says you don't belong here. Directly says you don't belong here. And this is something, let's get very clear. It doesn't have to be flown. You don't have to be the person that we all know the house. If you grew up Frederick County, what's up? You can all picture the flag, a tattered Confederate flag that's been waving in front of that family's house for years. From my in-laws' house, I can see 2 Confederate flags from their front porch.
Right.
It's disgusting, and not at their house. These are people on their street. It's disgusting. It's offensive. It's fearful. It ignites hate. It is not. And in a world where right now crime is at an all-time high against marginalized groups,
against Jewish people,
Black people, Hispanic people,
Jews
Asian
are number
people,
1,
LGBTQ people, it's not okay. And so it doesn't have to be flying. It can be on a shirt. It can be on a cup.
It can be on a tattoo.
It can be on a mug.
Inside of your inner thigh.
It can be
It
on
could be on a pair
magnet.
of underwear.
I don't care where. Get it out. We're done.
We burning that. 2024, we burning that.
Again, if you didn't know, we're telling you. We're telling you. I'm not like, oh, wow. So you don't have to write me a letter and say, I didn't know this. Just get rid of it.
Just get rid of it.
It's like me with my Redskins jersey that I had. I threw it out. The team is over. Santana Moss. I'll always love you, Santana Moss. He doesn't play on the team anymore.
I need to put a quick pin. I do want to say I hate that the colors are still the colors of red skin. Losers, let's do what the Caps, and can we just be like Pittsburgh? Can we all be red, white, and blue in DC? We hate that the jerseys are still the color of a Redskin. It's offensive.
Yeah.
We don't like you.
Yeah. So again, that's when people will be like, I'm still, and I've seen people be like so mad about the name change, and I'm like,
you're a loser.
Again, another
You're
whole
a
topic.
loser.
But that's the kind of shit that I'm like, are you kidding me? I have to explain to you, and then experience people like, I didn't know that symbol meant so much. Like, I'm sorry.
And here's the thing.
I'm sorry that symbol offends you, but I'm still gonna like the Instagram post of the business says that use it as their symbol, and like, wear it on the shirt that my friend gave me, and let, my boyfriend or my husband, like, carry the sweatshirt with the symbol on it because, it was free. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I don't have time. I don't have time.
And you know what? Here's the thing.
I don't have time
Here's
to
a couple
explain it.
things.
And I don't have time actually, because now, and this again is a therapy thing, that's speaking to your inner child.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
My therapist said to me one day when I was talking about me, again, this is another topic, speaking poorly about my body or being hard about myself. And she said, you told me you have a niece that you love. And I do. We adore our girl. She's
baby.
such a diva. And she said, imagine you looking at her and saying that to her. And I was like,
mm-hmm. Which is so gut-wrenching.
Now I think about it as, do I want her or one of my nephews to show up at a birthday party and somebody, they have to walk into someone's house for the first time and go, what's that flag mean? Or be around it? No, I don't. And I would not want them around those people. I'm out. If you're going to defend it, if you don't get it, if you're not as angry as me, you are not my friend.
Exactly. And that's the thing. One, I'm going to say.
Because I do have the friends. Trust me. I have the friends. We have the friends that will turn the fuck up. And that's why they're here with me now. Post-COVID, in a world where I had to choose how many people come,
yeah,
and who I can be around. I'm around the people that have my back.
But let me say this too.
I'm getting heated.
You are, and that's fine. You should. But it's also, I will say this, if you're like, I don't understand, I didn't know that, blah, blah, fine. But all we're saying is then all you have to say is sorry and change it. Yep. That's all. I don't need a manifesto. I don't need to understand about your white fragility. Mm-hmm. I don't need to hear about the things that used to be said to you. And so you learn them that way. I don't give a fuck. I don't have time for it.
I don't need the excuses.
It's totally fine. You know, I get that you had a fucked up childhood. That's okay. Got it. So all I need from you is sorry. And we'll no longer be using those symbols. And if I ever see them, I will speak up, and I will use my whiteness to make up for all the times that I didn't speak up. I will use the power of my privilege to help others and help those around me.
The reality is that's never going to happen, because if you didn't, where they're going to do the
no,
at a minimum, just say thank you for letting me know. I will never contribute to this.
I will. So I am going to say, though, do better, be better. We talk about, Stacey and I talk about mottos. I say this to Joe and my son when, oh my gosh, my son had a total meltdown yesterday, and Joe and I were just like, not okay. And we had like a really calm conversation with him about it. And he's turning 4 in like a month. Mm-hmm. And, I say this to my husband when, he does something, and I'm like, we talk about it, and then I go, do better. And like, when there's moments where I'm like, that's not okay. And and Joe looked at me and he said, do better, be better. But that's how I feel, though. Do better, be better.
Yeah. Cause it's also just like,
because this world is in a rough spot. And if we all don't try to do better and be better and think of others and give back to our community and hear how other people feel and understand how, I don't want you to feel that way. And I don't want anyone to go through pain.
And here's the key. Treat other people as they want to be treated. Mm-hmm. Not as you would want to be treated, mm-hmm. as they would want to be treated. So if I'm saying to you, hey, that hurts my feelings as a Black person, it was terrifying for me to go to a party and see a truck that had a bumper sticker with that flag on it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't go in.
So many stories are rolling through my head right now that I'm like, the triggers, the trauma.
Yeah, you go to a party and you're like, can I go in there? And people are like, oh, they're fine, they're cool. And I'm like, no, you guys don't understand.
And I
don't want to go in there.
I don't want to go in there. And also, but pin in this, so we talk about this at another time. People that say to us, you're so confident. Like I have people that now in my adult life meet me, like at my new job and stuff. They're like, but how are you so confident? Be a Black woman for how many years of your life walking into a white space?
Or just walking down the street in a city.
Walking down the street and in the city and figure out. And any woman, that's true. Any woman can relate to being a woman walking down the street in the city. Now put on that a Black woman walking down the street in an all white community, and you will figure out how to hold your head high. Yeah. Because there's moments where you don't get to be invisible. When it is, and our parents taught us this too, you always have to watch what you say. You always have to be aware of what you are doing
and your surroundings
and your surroundings, because you will never be invisible in a room. Your height, your hair, we're all, the tallest of us is 6 and probably a quarter. And, the shortest is 5'7", and the average is 5'9". Right here, tips. Mm-hmm. And so you are always going to be the tallest. You are always, going to have the bodies that you have.
People are going to notice you.
People are going to notice you. They're going to notice your hair. So understand, we didn't get to walk in sloppy. That's like when so we were prepping with work for this tech conference that we do, Afrotech. And so some of our employees that were going from like the tech side of our company that had never been. I've been like, 4 or 5 times now. I think 4. And so we did a prep session of just like what to expect. And when people are going to something like that, like you want to know all the details of like,
what do you wear?
Where you're getting your badge, what you're wearing. And so I said, okay, let me tell you this. this is not South by Southwest. This is not a random tech conference. There are not white men walking around in hoodies and ripped jeans. You are dressed. You're not in a suit because we're not doing that. This is a vibe, you know. But people look good.
Together.
You're put together. You have a look. Your hair is done, and oh my God, in this space, Afrotech is like coming home. Your hair can be however you want it to be. Your clothes can be, but it's what Black people have always had to do. We've always had to get dressed. We've always had to look good. We've always had to be clean. Because when you're not, you're assumed that you're a thief, that you're dirty, that you're
people
all
look
the things.
at you.
And people are looking at you already. So you've got to make sure what you're presenting is acceptable and above and beyond. And so in this space, it's like, because we all know that like you get dressed, people know how to get dressed. And so they are expressing themselves while also like, just, it's a vibe, it's a style, and it's community, which is why I want this pod to go to Africa.
But what was you said people asked what to wear.
I got a little tangent.
Digress.
It happens. So people were asking, what to wear. And I was just like, people are dressed. Like they look fire. Like even if you're wearing jeans, like there's and a hoodie, like the sweatsuit is
they're
cute.
dressed.
They've got their Air Force Ones. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I thought you were saying what you were telling people what to wear.
Yeah, it was. I was saying,
also that they were like,
you can wear whatever you want,
yeah.
but like you will look cute. You can wear sweatpants, but they're going to be the fresh with your nice
look. You're suited up.
Yeah, you're suited up.
No, it's true. It's like, but that's also part of. I think it's like that was a good with this pod. It's like we're so used to being the only in a room, othered. People, what are you? Mm-hmm. Where are you from? Like,
are you Puerto Rican?
We'll do a whole cast where I'll be like, okay.
And no,
I'm going to rapid fire you questions that I've been asked as a Black woman. And you tell me how you were you reply with what's the appropriate thing to say. Right.
Oh my God. That'd be so fun.
So, just here's a preview. Don't ever fucking ask somebody, where are you from?
No.
And no. Or
without meaning what state and what part of Annapolis.
Especially if the question starts like this. And this is a generally rule if I'm trying to question. Do you mind if I ask you, where are you from?
High. I will note, as you do this, I'm going to note, the voice goes high. You will, the change in the pitch, the tone.
Do you mind? And there's that hesitation. And I'm like, oh yeah, where's the bathroom?
And then the pause. There will be a pause.
Where are you from? Because do you speak Spanish or?
You know what was my favorite?
Laughing. That's a real question someone's fucking asked me.
My favorite?
I'm gonna put I don't even want to give any more. I don't want to give any more.
No.
We'll do that another episode. Don't give any more. It'll be another episode.
You're right. It's too good.
It's too good. Maybe we'll add that as a segment of it'll be like lesson learned. Yes. And we'll be like, okay, we're going to do a rundown of like things not to say.
You know what? Maybe do this.
Would that help you all? Would that help you all that are wondering, that are sitting there when your company says, tell me what you did this year for D&I. You're going, but I'm white. How can I do anything for D&I?
Yeah.
Or when you're like, I mean, I have a Black friend. I'm not racist. Like, I'm good. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk.
We going to talk to you.
We going to talk.
No, but actually, right. Okay. So write in our Instagram, like we're posting this on YouTube, right? So I'm going to see, this is probably what's going to happen because I don't know how to do any of this shit. I'm going to say, follow here.
Check the show notes.
To, come up here.
Follow us on Instagram. Do it for the story pod.
YouTube. Follow us on YouTube. Ratings. Rate us on. We're on any pod wherever you listen to your podcast. Put a 5-star rating review, but also slide into those DMs and let us know what do you want to hear about, and ask us also. I don't care who you are, what your background is.
Anything.
Ask us anything. You want to ask a question? You are a white mom. Yeah. I don't care what it is. Like,
you're a
ask
Black
us a question.
Mom with a what,
as long as you're coming from a place of kindness, like I don't need to see any hate messages or hateful questions, but I'm an open book.
Yeah. If you're literally like, what was it like for you? How do you do your hair?
How do you do your hair? We get
products?
that a lot. Yeah.
What hair dryer?
Ooh.
What clothes best fit your body?
Yeah.
How do you deal with body image. My daughter also goes to an all white school just because it's where we live.
Right. And sometimes people have to live where they live. So, so like we totally, what are the words that you empower someone? You know, I do have a child
what
that's
about
the only in their school.
I have a biracial child, but I'm now dating. Do I need to date of the same race of what they're,
right? How do I have those conversations? Yeah. So we'll
we've
answer
got
it
a
all.
lot to talk about. Hopefully you all enjoyed this tidbit and it wasn't too crazy.
Yeah, but
wherever,
I should say, wherever you want to, comment, if it's in, the YouTube, the comments on this post on YouTube, or sliding into DMs, or comment on, we'll post on Instagram when we are posting
throw up a like,
show, throw up a
love. A hand,
a fist.
But I will preface again, this is a podcast for everybody. You want to come sit with us.
This is one of the things that you will learn about us. We are friends with everyone. We have we love the people. If
we love all communities except ones that are hate communities,
if you're hateful,
communities, bigotry, get the fuck out.
If you want to make people feel small, we're not going to mesh.
If you got a place you want to feel small, we've got a place for you, and it's called hell.
I was going to say it's called hell.
There's a special place for you called hell. Anyway, that's it for the story for today.
Oh my God, what a great pod.
Loved it. And
loved it.
Thanks
you
for letting
guys.
us be vulnerable.
Thanks for letting us be vulnerable. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to our stories.
And hopefully you can do it for your own story.
Do it for the story. Davis.
Love it. Have a great week.
Also, comment if you like this intro outro. Brad, you did it.
Dead. Divas.